Today I'm here to talk about online therapy. So this is kind of a hot item because it is somewhat new. We're seeing it being used in practice with doctor's offices to have like telehealth. A lot of times you'll hear it called telehealth appointments, so you don't have to leave your house or leave work or something like that to go in for an appointment. So today I'm going to talk about what is online therapy or telehealth therapy, I call it a lot, and who might feel benefited by it, some of the drawbacks of it, and what to look for when you're looking for an online therapist. So let's start with what it is. So it is a way of receiving therapy where you can get it online. So there are a bunch of platforms that can be used to provide online therapy, and the biggest thing is just making sure that it is HIPAA compliant with your therapist. And so that's a question that you can ask when talking to your therapist, when you ask if they offer online therapy and then what they use. So like Skype for Business, or there's tons of them, Zoom, or I don't know, there's a bunch of them, but making sure that it's HIPAA compliant. So they're typically the same length of sessions that your therapist would normally provide, and oftentimes, I can't speak for all insurances, but oftentimes insurance will pay for these sessions if there's a diagnosis and stuff like that. So super important to check with your insurance to make sure they pay for them if you're using insurance. Otherwise, there's lots of therapists that will do online therapy for customers or clients who private pay as well. So that's kind of a little bit about online therapy. It would look very similar to what you're seeing right now. You'll see your therapist on the computer and you will be on the other end of it, and you'll work that way instead of in an office. So who it's really beneficial for? The busy people in life where it is just really hard to get away from work for, we always say an hour. It's not true, because if it's for you, it is leaving work to get to the office, which probably at least a half hour, and then also leaving the therapist's office to go back to work. So oftentimes for a 1 hour session, we're looking at 2 full hours of being gone from work. And then if it's a session with a kiddo, it's even longer because you're picking them up for daycare or picking them up from school, and so that commute is even longer. So super, super great for people who the schedule is just so busy and it is really difficult to take that time off of work. Also, people who live in rural communities, it's really nice for, because we have people who commute to therapy for a half hour, 45 minutes, some even hours to get to a therapy session. So that can be super tough. Some people aren't able to receive therapy because that commute is just too much, and it gets to be really expensive as well. So people who are in rural communities, as long as they have internet access, beautiful, they can do online therapy. So those are 2 different types of people that it could be beneficial for. I'm sure there's a ton more, but those are the 2 that just really pop in my mind of being able to benefit quickly from it. So some of the things to watch out for, or kind of just have in mind and be aware of, is making sure that online therapy is right for you. So some people love the feeling of sitting in an office, and being in most therapist offices are calm, and so being in that calm space and just kind of getting in the zone of being in therapy. And so acknowledging that whatever environment you're choosing to do the online therapy at is the environment obviously that you're going to be a part of. And so just being aware of that, and that does play a role in your therapy. If you have kids running around in the background, or spouses or friends, or whatever that looks like, that environment still exists from where you're at. The other piece of it is the confidentiality. So just what I talked about, if there's people in the background, or if you're doing it from your work office, or if you're doing it from somewhere in public, that just the confidentiality of the people that are around you and the environment that you can't change. It is what it is. So just doing your best to make sure you have a space that's quiet where you can actually focus on therapy, and it's not causing you to not be honest or say things because you're worried about who could maybe hear what you're talking about. And then the third thing I really wanted to touch on is making sure that it's HIPAA compliant. I said that before, but really making sure nobody can get into that conversation in any way. And so that's what HIPAA compliance is that it's a confidential conversation. Nobody can like zip in and watch your video or whatever that looks like. And I do want to touch on one more thing, and that is that for some people, doing online therapy is nice because there's a buffer there, so they're able to be more open than they normally would be, or they're able to say things in a different way or with more courage maybe than they normally would be. So that can be a good thing for people, but also the opposite could happen where people just don't feel that connection. And I think everybody feels it. I'm pretty sure everybody feels it, where you can feel the environment of people and you can kind of like get a sense of what each other are feeling and emoting, and there's kind of an energy about that. And so you might not feel that if it's online. You absolutely could. But just knowing that having an open mind when doing online therapy and really being cognizant of if that relationship is good and feels good, then perfect. And if it's not, then online therapy might not be right, or maybe it's just not the right provider for you. So all the pros and cons to online therapy, also called telehealth, also called a million other things. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. Please like this video if it was helpful or if you liked it, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks.